Our final keynote speaker for today is Tim Stollznow. Tim leads MyVenue, an innovative company headquartered at Lot 14, which specialises in developing and exporting cutting-edge point-of-sale solutions to stadiums and hospitality venues worldwide. A seasoned professional with more than 30 years of experience as a director, investor, CEO and software engineer, Tim steered multiple businesses to win numerous innovation and export awards. Notably, MyVenue was honoured as the National Emerging Exporter of the Year in 2022 and the Small Business Exporter of the Year in November of the same year. Tim's joining us today straight off the plane from the US to share the MyVenue journey. I think he's based in Atlanta at the moment, how he took the company from local to global and how they grew from an idea to where they're going now. This is the art of the startup in Adelaide. Please welcome Tim Stollznow.
Thank you very much. What a great day so far, and how good is it to be back in Adelaide? I've got to tell you, there's a lot of things happening around the world, but Adelaide is a great place to live and work, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today, especially in the context of startups and what startups can do globally from Adelaide. But I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey, really, and it's a quick journey because MyVenue is a very young company. We're only formed at the start of COVID, so some would say not a great time to start up a global hospitality company when the whole world's shutting down. But we did it, and we got some backers, and we're out of the gates, so to speak. So I'm going to start. Bear with me. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the American sports and entertainment sector because it's huge. But this is not necessarily a sports and entertainment story. So for those of you who are not in the sports and entertainment sector, please bear with me. But the American sports and entertainment sector is the largest, most exciting and vibrant in the world. It's the complete immersion of sights and smells and sounds and experiences, and it's huge. I mean, have a look at this. There's just in this, and this includes cultural attractions, so the boulevard, the cultural boulevard in Adelaide would be included in this. So it includes cultural attractions, performing arts centres, but importantly arenas, sports stadiums, and even theme parks and convention centres. And there's nearly 5,000 venues that are in our target market. So where we look at, and I'm sure many of you have been to America and you've been to the sports events, it's cheerleaders, it's marching bands, it's sights, sounds, it's fireworks and lights, it's American flags as big as a housing block and the national anthem, of course. But importantly, it's also food, beverage and merchandise. And they do food, beverage and merchandise like no one else. So the equivalent in Australia, for example, of a pie with sauce at the cricket or the footy would be a hot dog with ketchup at the baseball. But they go far beyond that. They have Philly cheesesteak and tacos and burritos and poke bowls and vegan burgers and everything in between. It's a complete immersion of experiences. And every week, over 2% of the American population, it's about 6 million people, they pay to see live sports every week, which is close to Adelaide or close to Australia, but still they do it like none other. And research shows that Americans rate their food and beverage experience, and this is useful because there was a bit of discussion around the food and beverage offerings on North Terrace, for example. So research shows that Americans rate their food and beverage experience at sports venues as second only to team performance. So that's significant, and that is that's meaningful, and it's meaning for us and our market. So you take, for example, some of their sports stadiums, so something like the Dallas Cowboys, they have 366 corporate suites over 5 levels. It's about networking, it's about food and beverage, and it's kind of about sport as well. But this is the size of the market. So MyVenue develops technology that ensures wherever a fan is in a stadium or arena or a ballpark or a cultural attraction, they're able to get food and beverage and merchandise, to buy it, to have it delivered to their seat. They can get it in their suite, at a bar, in a concession, in a merchandise location, in their parking lot, or even in their seat. It's very important. We do the whole gamut of operations. We also do the back office. And I'm just setting the scene here. We do all their warehousing, event setup, event control. We do recipe management, so they know, what's in a hot dog. You probably don't want to know, but all of that is managed by our software. And importantly, we also have developed our system, which is all developed here in little old Adelaide, so that it can run on the venues, in many, many cases, the majority of cases, on the venue's existing hardware. So we're able to come in and re-image the whole venue so that they can reuse their hardware. So importantly, we are saving hundreds and hundreds of tonnes of electronic waste from going into ground fill every year. So how did all this start? Well, in 2021, we installed our first venue in North America. We had to sell it via Zoom. We had to install it with contractors. You see, we couldn't travel we could travel to the US, but we couldn't come home. So it's a bit like space, really. I tried that angle on the South Australian government, but they didn't buy it. They said we couldn't qualify for any space funding, but I thought that might be an angle to argue with them. But we've grown significantly, as you can see by this graph. So this is the number of point of sale terminals. So a point of sale terminal is in a concession or in a bar. There may be 8 or 6 or 5 or whatever in a bar, but also the number of venues. So you can see we grew from 1 in 2021 to over 100 today. And we would count our customers as the Miami Grand Prix, the Las Vegas Sphere. I don't know whether many of you have heard about that, but it's a fantastic new entertainment facility in Las Vegas by the Madison Square Garden Group. We do the Angels, the Chicago Cubs, the Yankees, the Colts. We did the Super Bowl last year. So these guys are all running our point of sale, point of sale software, which is developed here in Adelaide. In fact, in April, we went live at the University of Michigan up in Ann Arbor near Detroit, and that's the biggest stadium in North America, the 3rd biggest in the world, and now they're running our point of sale there too. So you might ask, how could a little South Aussie company achieve success in the massive North American sports and entertainment sector? Well, as it turns out, I'm sure many of you have been to America and you've been to their bars and you've ordered a drink or you've ordered food and you've seen how the system works. I mean, heaven forbid that you get up from your table and go to the bar and try and order a drink from the bar. The server will look at you like you're from another planet. They'll like, oh yes sir, I'll just go and I'll get your server to come and serve you, because that's all unorganised. Or if you're sitting at your table and you need a drink or you need to order your food and you put your hand up and you wave someone down and they come over and they're like, oh yes sir, I'll just get your server for you, because it's all about tips, right? And once you have tips, you have career hospitality workers, because they're earning $300 or $400 or $500 or more dollars a night. So they're working in this industry forever. So they know how to work these really sophisticated point of sale systems. But guess what? In a stadium and arena, it doesn't work like that. In a stadium and arena, you have 90 minutes to generate probably 80% of your revenue. And it's no holes, there's no rules. You're 4 or 5 deep at the bar looking for a server, waving cash at them, well, waving a credit card at them now, to try and get their attention so they can serve you. And guess what? It's exactly the same as an Aussie pub. So this is where we had a massive advantage in going over there. And to a certain degree, we've caught a lot of their market off guard. And I've tried to explain to them that this is a bit of a Bradbury moment over there. You guys all get the Bradbury moment. The only reason why Americans are interested in the Bradbury moment is because it happened in Salt Lake City, but that's okay. I've told the story a number of times. So we're over there now and doing this, and we're doing it faster and quicker than ever. I was involved with another business. It took us 20 years to get any sort of footprint and significant momentum over there. And for us, it's happened in about less than 4 years, maybe about 3 years, and at least half of that with COVID. So it's quite the story. I'm going to talk a little bit now about startups and about the startup philosophy. And I'm sure many of you know this, but just to recap, a startup it's nothing special. It's a group of people to get together with an idea. They have a good team. Presumably they can get along they can have robust discussion without suing each other. They come up with an idea. They develop a plan. The plan includes how big, their target market, how they're going to go to market. Maybe they've even developed a prototype. Maybe they've even got some early revenue, and then they've got to go out and sell it. And they've got to first of all sell it to some investors. And the investors may be you. It may be a super fund. It may be even a government grant program. But they've got to be able to convince someone that their plan is good enough and their market creates a big enough opportunity for their idea that they can go out and make it happen. And that's a very, very good life lesson for exactly how businesses work anyway. Only this is capable of happening a lot faster, because instead of bootstrapping a company and trying to work out how you're going to make your first $1,000 so you can pay someone or whatever, you can start with maybe $500,000 or $1 million in the bank. And then if you have to go back to the well through a seed round to a Series A round or whatever, it actually works. And I had a lot of experience with startups through 2010, 11 and 12 when things were just starting in Adelaide. And it's a lot of fun, and I can tell you that the model actually works. So this is why startups are so very important to any modern economy, but especially here in Adelaide. And I'm going to talk a little bit now about why Adelaide is almost the Goldilocks, in the Goldilocks zone for startups. So to be a great startup city, it needs to be big enough but not too big. You need to be able to live and work in the city if that's what you want to be able to do. If that's what you want to do, you need to have hubs. You need to have government support. You need to have programs. You could live at the beach. You can live in the hills, and importantly also you need to have some great universities, because you need this feeder stock. I'm sorry to call developers that, but that's what they don't tell any of our team. I call them that. But you need to have developers coming into your company that are world's best, that understand modern technology and programming and this sorts of things. But you also need to have access to good consultants, whether they're lawyers or accountants or whatever, and of course an international airport. Even better if you've got high-speed internet like we have here at Gig City. So Adelaide's a great city to run startups, and just some of the things we have: South Start. South Start's a great program, best in Australia, I'm told. Lot 14, of course, which is where MyVenue is based. Lot 14's fantastic. We went there early on, just after we started the company in 2020. We were part of Stone and Chalk, which is sort of an incubator company. We got kicked out of there. I don't know whether it was for being too noisy or too big. We got booted out of there, but then we went into another part of Lot 14 called Tech Central. We've grown up in there, and I think we're about to be kicked out of there too. Where's Di Dixon? Is she here? I hope she goes easy on us. So there's a lot of exciting things happening at Lot 14. It's right next door to Adelaide Uni. We get a lot of our engineers from Adelaide Uni, and again, international at that, the ones that the defence sector don't grab. We make sure that we're next in line. So Adelaide is a really great city, and we've got some huge opportunities. And before I talk about those opportunities, I just want to talk about some of the other important things about startups, because Startups need to have a great team. Like I said, you need to be able to have robust conversation without suing each other. Maybe that's a bit extreme, but you know what I mean. So when we started MyVenue, we thought the world was going to be a hosted solution. We thought everyone was going to go to mobile ordering, and we thought that everyone was going to be running point-of-sale terminals on Android. When we went out and started to try and sell this product in Australia, we found out a lot of stadiums in Australia weren't interested in Android. They were like, well, we're still running Windows. We don't want to change from Windows. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a bit of a problem. And then some said, oh, we don't want a hosted solution. We only want an on-premise solution because we've just spent all this money on hardware and we've got a server room and a guy that looks after it and we don't want to upset him. So I said, well, that's a bit of a problem as well. And then the mobile ordering, well, they weren't ready for that either. So we had to very quickly pivot, and we probably went to the US a little earlier than we planned. We had another venue in another stadium in Australia that came back to us and said, we don't want to deal with a startup, but I'll talk a bit about that later. The other thing that happened was when we got to the US, as everyone was talking about cybersecurity, we had a rough plan around cybersecurity. The first RFP we did referred to something called SOC 2, which is this new data protection program. I don't think I still know exactly what it stands for. But the first one we came to, they said, oh, you need to be SOC 2 compliant. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's that? So, but you work hard, you travel a lot, you get over there, you stay disciplined and focused, and good things happen. And we, there's a certain degree to which you can make your own luck if you work hard and you're disciplined. And there's two organisations in the US that would not ordinarily be competitors to us that I would say have, let's just say, fallen on hard times since we've been over there and grabbing some of their market share that they would ordinarily expect to win. So we're enjoying a lot of success. We've got a lot more to do. We want to do it from Adelaide. Like I said, Adelaide's a great city to be based in. So just a few things from a few lessons, I guess, that we've learned along the way. Obviously, Adelaide's a great city to conquer the world from. However, if you go across to the US, most Americans know Australia more for our 256 animals that will kill you in about 35 different ways than they do about Australia as a technology hub. So you first of all got to get over that small hurdle, but work hard. I always say, when you go over there, take an American with you into or if you go into another, it's no secret, take a local in there so that you're not caught out, so that if it's a home derby between, the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles, that you go, oh yeah, well that was a great game last year, and you're not sitting there scratching your head because you don't know about it. Americans are great networkers. They love their trade shows. Every year, for 360 days of the year, they are competitors, they're fierce competitors, they, scratch and work hard to beat each other in business. And then for 6 days of the year, or 5 days of the year, they go back and they have these massive trade shows. And they all stand up and tell each other what they've learned and what their roadmaps are, and all their new features that they've got coming out and who the customers are that they've won. They go out and have cocktail parties and carry on, and then they go back home and fight, like cats and dogs again. But you've got to go, if you want to go to America, you've got to go over there, and you've got to go to trade shows, and you've got to walk around, and you've got to understand who the market is. You've got to talk to people. You've got to find the right people to talk to, go and stand behind them in the lunch lineup if that's what it takes. You're not going to get invited to the cocktail party, the welcome cocktail reception, where someone who's been there for 25 years and as a foundation member gets invited. You won't. Find out where they go afterwards. Go and chase them down. So I'd say the US is an incredibly exciting place to do business. Get over there early, stay focused, and where to from here for us? Obviously, America's capacity to digest new sports is unbelievable. Major League Soccer over there was started just after they hosted the World Cup in 1994. In 1996, they had 10 Major League Soccer teams. This year, Messi's over there playing for Inter Miami. They've got 29 teams, and within a couple short years, they will be the most well-attended soccer league in the world. That's incredible. They've got NASCAR and IndyCar, and now they've got 3 Grand Prix, I should say. Sorry, Grand Prix. So, you know, America's capacity to digest new stuff, they're just very enthusiastic about sport. They're very much like Aussies, but there's a lot more of them. There's 330 million of them. And one of the things that we've done and we've been able to do is grab the attention of the food service companies. So over there, the food service companies control a lot of the industry, and there's about 5 of them now that we deal with on a regular basis, and we're following them around the world. The Americanisation of world sport is happening at pace. Saudi Arabia is building or significantly renovating a dozen stadiums at the moment in preparation for the Asian World Cup soccer in 2 years' time. I mean, it is just, and then the Americans come into town, and when they leave, a lot of their expertise and know-how also stays there, technology and their infrastructure. So the possibilities are endless, even for the little old MyVenue from Adelaide. So the questions asked is, you know, how has Adelaide reached its full potential? Are we doing enough for startups that are you know, starting up here? We've got around 7,000 people employed by the startup community. We've got great hubs. We've got great government programs. We've got mentorship programs where, you know, retired or semi-retired people can enrol and get involved with startups. Speak to Lot 14, speak to the state government. There's plenty of good programs, but you know what? We can do more. And with a couple of the things that I want to highlight, I think are significant. And the first one is taking risk. The US seems to have this insatiable appetite to take risk, to back new technology, to back a new venture. And I don't think we've quite got that in Australia. So I'd encourage everyone here in business, if a startup comes to you and wants to sell you a product, even if you don't think it's quite ready, even if you're not sure how it might go, take a risk. It will help them more than anything. It helps more than giving them money is to actually buy their product and help them make their product better. And if their product doesn't work perfectly, stick with them, because it's the best place. It's the best place to have a sandpit here in your home market where you can learn how to get your product right and your support right and everything else before you charge off to the US. We went there early. And it's worked out for us, but it is a lot harder to charge off overseas. With that, once we start supporting the startup industry and people can see the benefits, the money will come. I mean, I think this is also important, is whether it's high net worths or super funds or businesses, support the startup community. You know, become an angel investor or invest in a Series A, especially if you think their product is half decent. You know, this is what we need to do as a community to actually get a few rungs up the ladder. And we don't have to do that much better than what we're doing. We're doing pretty good, but I think these are some of the things that we can do a bit better. So that's it. I just got a couple of announcements just real quickly and hot off the press. So in the first 10 days of May, we signed 10 more venues in North America. And the first venue I wanted to tell you about is the LA Memorial Coliseum, home of the 2028 Olympic Games, host venue of the 2028 Olympic Games. Incredibly, the 3rd time that venue has hosted the Olympics. So it'll be our point of sale, designed and built here in Adelaide. That'll be running in LA Memorial Coliseum. We signed a 5-year deal with them. We've also just signed the Dallas Cowboys, 1,200 points of sale in that 90,000 seat venue with 366 suites. And then on top of that, we signed the University of Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Tennis Open, and I think another 3 colleges and a couple more arenas. So we're having a lot of fun. And encourage your kids or your nieces or nephews or your grandkids to do STEM. there was some commentary about STEM. STEM's really important, and make sure you support the startup community. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
What a brilliant local success story and global success story. A couple of quick questions, Tim. When you're talking to people internationally, how do they respond about your location being Adelaide? How do you paint that picture? Are you ever questioned on your location?
Yeah, we are. I normally, it's a good question, it's an important question. I normally either say we're a global company and point it back on that, or it doesn't matter where the technology is developed, or I remind people, and this is something that's really important that we do, is we send our engineers to the US, and not just our engineers, anyone from within our office who's working within the company gets an opportunity to travel to the US and see the product and experience it in the stadium and arena environment, so that and not many, even American companies don't do that, because a lot of them are very siloed, and they go, oh no, that's our engineers, we don't send them on site. And I'm like, are you kidding? Get them on site, see the product being used. So I think we try and overcome that by making sure that we get people on site. And I also would try and remove that as a barrier to entry, and they say, oh, it's so far away, and I'm like, well, it's actually not that far, but you know those sorts of things.
It is
I
to
think,
them.
too. Yeah.
How important is it to be part of an innovation district community like Lot 14 to get support as a startup?
I think it's incredibly important. I think that young, energetic software developers and QA people and help desk people love working in that high energy environment and where we can learn. We're part of the Cyber Collaboration Centre, so just being able to bounce ideas and be able to, whether it's over the coffee pot or over, going out for lunch with someone from the startup, down the corridor or whatever. I think startup hubs are absolutely fundamental to a thriving startup community, yeah.
And just final question, what advantages are there having your team based in Adelaide while you're doing business in the US?
I don't know, advantages. They'd probably say there's advantages because I'm not walking around sticking my nose over the top of their computer. I used to be an engineer, so they generally try and keep me away from engineering type problems. I think that, I believe truly that if you're really serious about the US, you need to have executives over there. You need to either travel over there a lot yourself, or you need to go and live over there. And fortunately, Michelle, my wife, who's there, we're both living and working for MyVenue, and we're living in Atlanta, and we're having a ball. It's a lot of fun.
It sounds like it. Thanks for timing your trip with the AEDA Business Summit for 2024.
Came back just for this. No.
Well, we are thrilled that you did. Tim, thanks so much for sharing that amazing story.
Thanks.
Insights and great advice. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much.